Hey guys, LevelCap here. Today is Monday, which means it's time for an episode of Loadout, the series where you guys, the viewers, get to pick a gun and customization for me to use. The way you do this is you leave a comment down below letting me know what kind of weapon and accessories you'd like me to run with, and I will pick one of the top-rated tactical comments for the next episode. Today's top comment comes from ORC Army. They say, the up-close and personal loadout. Class Engineer, primary MPX PDW with the Coyote sight. Accessory will be the laser sight or not, choose wisely. Barrel will be a suppressor, stay stealthy my friend. Underbarrel is the ergo grip to keep on the move while killing everyone. Secondary is the G18 pistol to finish off if no bullets in the MPX. Grenade is the M67 frag. Use the SMA to deal with long range targets. You are a close quarters beast, no one can deal with you. Play in TDM/domination matches to make the most of your loadout. Enjoy and leave no one alive. Now, I did play at least one round of TDM, but ultimately I started playing some rush games and was really enjoying the fact that I could just stay off that mini-map and RPG tanks and really just pull my weight. I did really well in rush, really enjoyed it, so a lot of my gameplay is going to be there. The MPX is a heavy damage dealing weapon. It has an 850 round per minute rate of fire and it does 24.5 damage maximum. So it's right up there with assault rifles and CQB, and it holds its own against any of the high damaging assault rifles. At further ranges, of course, it starts to do significantly less damage, and its muzzle velocity by default is very slow at 340 meters per second. So by any standards, it's just not going to be a good long range weapon even without a suppressor. So you slap the suppressor on there, the muzzle velocity goes even slower, making it very, very hard to hit long range and or moving targets. In fact, that might be something that's going to throw you guys off at first. Is you'll see somebody running past you, you'll shoot at them, and you'll be missing a lot of your hits. It's because your bullets are going so freaking slow, unrealistically slow in my opinion. You just kind of have to adapt to that or get so close in their face that you simply can't miss. As for the actual setup on this gun, I'm digging it. It's probably the way I'd run this gun given any option at all. Maybe remove the suppressor depending on what kind of game mode I'm playing. It is nice for certain things. It would be so cool to have a removable suppressor in this game, something that allowed you to sort of get the benefits of stealth if you wanted to go on a flank, or if you knew you were just engaging enemies that knew where you were, you could take it off and kind of get that muzzle velocity benefit. It would be really cool. They do actually have removable suppressors in real life, so maybe a future Battlefield game will have a feature like that. As for the laser sight, I was using it a lot in TDM, but on the larger rush-oriented game modes, I ended up taking it off. The gun has good hip fire to the point where I can use it in CQB, but for the most part, I'm aiming down sights with that beautiful singular dot on the Coyote sight. The Coyote sight at this point, in my opinion, is without question the best sight in the game. I love the Cobra sight, the look of it and all that stuff, but that singular dot in the center, the minimalistic housing around it, there's just no beating the Coyote sight. And I've actually mentioned this in a few videos before that although the Coyote sight is accurate to the model of this optic in real life, it's a fairly cheap optic, doesn't provide very good clarity, the dot itself is not that precise, doesn't hold to zero particularly well, and it certainly won't hold up under combat stresses. You drop your gun on this sight or bang it against a wall, it's going to crack or break or screw up its alignment. So there's a lot of reasons why this optic will probably never actually be used in any sort of military scenario, yet it's the best sight in Battlefield 4 because none of those factors actually apply in a video game. I prefer Hardline's approach where they just remove the Coyote sight from the game entirely, so you just don't have it as an option to pick from. So it gives you a slightly more interesting optic lineup, and you actually have to think about which sight you want to use. Now, like the loadout suggested, this gun performs best in CQB. You can kill some people at medium range, especially if they're running towards you or standing still. It won't take you too long. The gun's damage is still decent at mid-range, mostly because of its amazing rate of fire, but in CQB, this is where this gun excels, and it really allows you to just run around very quickly, take out a single target, and reload. It's got a nice fast reload of 2.1 seconds. Could be a little bit faster, I suppose, but that will allow you to get work done in close quarters. I opted for the offensive field upgrade, both to get the speed boost and the extra ammo. If I'm going to stay alive a long time because I'm using a suppressed weapon, then I'm going to need those extra magazines, and when you end up playing game modes like Rush and you're playing very aggressively, it can be very hard to find ammo on the front lines. I often find myself having to kit switch with the support player that I kill, throw down an ammo box, pick up my old kit again and reload it. And if I can actually survive that process, which is hard to do because you're spending a lot of time without a weapon available to shoot enemy players, then you can actually move forward, but it's just such a tricky situation. Now, obviously, if you're not recording Loadout, you can just kit switch and use whatever weapon you pick up. This is often a fun thing to do because it just gives you a nice bit of variety in terms of what weapons that you're using. But for Loadout's sake, I usually try and go with this crazy throwdown ammo box situation, and it gets me killed a lot of the time. Now, in these rush game modes, we kept running into a lot of good squads that were making great use of their spawn beacons, putting them down near MCOMs or sort of slightly to the side of MCOMs, so you think you wiped out the enemy and then they spawn back in, kill you, and defuse the MCOM. So I was always on the lookout for spawn beacons, and that's something that I think any good squad, if you're playing with friends, should always have somebody running with a spawn beacon. And now that the recon class can use carbines and stuff like that, you don't necessarily have to play sort of a sniper at recon. You can be much more of an aggressive recon if you want. I will say part of me kind of misses the way that PlanetSide did spawn beacons, in the sense that it wasn't a class-specific gadget, but rather that once you start a squad, then the squad leader always has a spawn beacon, no matter what kind of loadout he's running. And I think that would be kind of a cool thing to maybe adopt in a Battlefield. It doesn't make a lot of sense to have multiple spawn beacons per squad, and oftentimes most squads don't have a spawn beacon because nobody's playing the recon class. But if you opted to have it so that the squad leader always had the spawn beacon, that would be kind of cool. And that's actually how I believe they did it in Battlefield 2142. I'm trying to remember which Battlefield title did this first, but there was one where the squad leader always had a spawn beacon. Anyway, it's kind of interesting food for thought, and who knows, maybe we'll see that kind of feature come back in Battlefield 5. Now, I've switched over to the defensive side on Rush here, and the MPX can be very good on a defensive round. You just kind of have to let your targets get closer to you is the only problem, because you don't really have that range power. So if you are holding off your enemy at a range, then the MPX is not going to be good for that. But if your enemy team is being very aggressive trying to get onto those MCOMs, then the MPX is going to be great. Again, a lot of these weapons are very situational. In loadouts, I don't have the option to switch between guns depending on what kind of situation I need them for, so I'm often trying to make them work in whatever situation is just presented to me, and that doesn't always work out. But luckily, the enemy team was being very aggressive, and I was able to get a lot of close quarter kills, even while playing defensively. And ever since they turned off elevators in the Siege of Shanghai map for Rush, the game mode has become much more enjoyable, and I really like it. I will say that the second set of MCOMs, I guess it is? No, sorry, the third set of MCOMs, where you're on this little island with the collapsed skyscraper, has got some of the easiest MCOMs to defend here, because there's literally a cave in which one of them is there, and you can like hide behind it if you want. So if you just have some dedicated players on your team hiding in that cave with the MCOM, it can be almost impossible to get to. Anyway, we managed to hold them off on the third set of MCOMs. We had the bridge locked down, so they kept trying to swim across the channel onto the island, and we knew they were coming and just kept mowing them down. And that pretty much wraps it up for this episode of Loadout. I would highly recommend the MPX as a PDW. It's a lot of fun in close quarters, kind of a weird combination with the engineer class at times, but never disappoints in that CQB combat. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave your comments down below for the next episode of Loadout, and I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap signing off.